Hello, nation of immigrants. This is it. As you can see, I'm still recording from home, working in my home office. Uh, it has happened. President Trump has declared that he will halt all immigration into the U.S. We're going to take a look at that after the intro. Not much else to say here. We'll see what happens.
You're listening to Nation of Immigrants.
America is a nation of immigrants.
A podcast about U.S. immigration law with your host, Jacob Tingen.
Okay, so this is where it started. A recent tweet. In light of the attack from the invisible enemy, as well as the need to protect the jobs of our great American citizens, I will be signing an executive order to temporarily suspend immigration into the United States. And it ends on an exclamation point there. I think it's interesting. In this CNN article, it says other aspects of the order remain unclear inside the administration, including what legal authorities the president will rely upon in the order, and what other elements of immigration, including family immigration and potential exemptions, might be included. So it seems to be, just typical 140 characters, Donald Trump sending stuff out into the world and letting everybody else react, including apparently people on his own staff. So this is just the method of operation. I've already gotten some calls and emails from clients asking, what's going to happen to my application? And so my first thought is, well, first of all, breathe. Let's see what actually happens. A tweet is not law, right? It does, we already know what Trump's immigration policies are. They tend to be anti-immigrant. They tend to want to restrict immigration generally. But before we freak out or react, let's see what's actually going to happen. And the reality is that there's no executive order. Not yet. I mean, there probably will be. And you can read the tea leaves and think about what will be in it all you want. But there's a lot of interesting stuff out there about why this is happening. And of course, the justification for it in the tweet is in light of the attack from the invisible enemy, which it refers to coronavirus, COVID-19, right? So in light of COVID-19, we're going to suspend all immigration as a means of protecting people. What does it say here? In light of the attack from the invisible enemy, as well as the need to protect the jobs of our great American citizens. So, he's viewing it as a job-saving measure. And we've recently talked about how, immediately after the pandemic struck, there was a rush to get a bunch of agricultural visas approved because, the U.S. saw, hey, we need migrant workers on our farms. We need to make sure our food supply chain doesn't just stop working all of a sudden. And then there was also a rush to get visas approved for doctors and nurses and that kind of thing. And so we see that immigration helps us as a nation. But as different people fight against the restrictions on our daily routines and lives, which, I completely understand. I also get frustrated at not being able to go to the gym and do the things that I used to do, right? So, I think we all get it and we're all in this together. But what's fascinating here is, Donald Trump is starting to push against the restrictions that he himself has put in place. It's a weird duality going on there because first of all, the federal government is saying, hey, everybody should follow these restrictions for the safety of everyone. And then Donald Trump, who is, the federal government right now, is the executive branch, saying, yes, of course, my experts are right, but then at the same time pushing for everything to reopen, and then saying, but no, we're going to protect ourselves by keeping all of the immigrants out. I mean, it's just disingenuous. It's just not intellectually honest. There's nothing going on here but just anti-immigration stuff. So what do we have to look forward to? Who's affected? First reports I've read say that this is just about employment visas. So if it's just about employment visas and you're a family-based visa applicant, then there's nothing to worry about. However, there's still no executive order, so it's not like I or anyone else knows. So I think the first step here is to just take a deep breath, right? Especially if you've got an immigration application pending, just take a deep breath. it's going to be okay. The second thing that I would say is there will be a court challenge to this. The likelihood that this doesn't get challenged in court is zero, right? There will be a court challenge to this. What happens as a result of that is anyone's guess. The Supreme Court has upheld a lot of Trump's immigration restrictions in the recent past. And, I've talked about that on this podcast, but the reason that the Supreme Court has done that, you could say, oh, well, the deck is stacked against immigrants and that kind of thing because Trump has appointed his appointees to the Supreme Court. But I think something more is going on than just that. I mean, I think there's an element of that, right? But honestly, Congress has given an overwhelming amount of power over immigration to the executive branch. And until Congress claws some of that power back and says, no, a lot of these immigration issues can be governed by just the laws themselves, and the executive branch doesn't need to have as much power over immigration as it currently does. Presidents tend to have pretty strong authority on these kinds of issues. So, it wouldn't surprise me to see some lawsuits going back and forth. We've seen a lot of temporary nationwide injunctions going into effect, and we've seen judges start to shy back from that now as a result of different things that have been written in some opinions about immigration issues. And so we're seeing federal judges shy away from temporary injunctions. But I wonder if on an issue this big, if it wouldn't just happen and then get appealed really quickly, as has been the case lately. And we'll just kind of see what happens. My hope, though, is that this doesn't go into effect, or that it is some kind of executive order suspending immigration into the United States. That I'm seeing a comment for the first time during a live video. That's awesome. Thanks, Aretha. It probably is a political strategy. I mean, it's unlikely that it's not. But what's interesting is, what I'd like to see is that either this be a very narrow executive order, and so it just doesn't apply to the vast majority of people, or that it just gets blocked in the courts, which is likely. So I wanted to hop on because I've had some clients who've recently applied. So I think for family-based petitions for those who are adjusting status and are present in the United States, it doesn't seem like there's a lot to worry about. Again, we haven't seen the order yet. But if you have some kind of pending employment petition, this might be cause for concern, and we'll just have to wait and see what happens. Is it going to be suspended for 120 days? As one report that I read was the implication that it'd just be 4 months, 120 days. Is that what's going to happen? Or is it going to be more along the lines of 6 months to a year? And then if it's just 4 months, is it going to be they're no longer going to accept applications? Or is it just they're going to halt processing of them? They'll accept them and receive them, but they won't give out any green cards based on an employment-based visa. These are all the questions that aren't answered by a 140-character tweet, that aren't answered in any of the news articles I've read. Basically, everybody's spitballing. And so because clients have been asking me, and I said, look, I'll just post some information on my YouTube channel. I'm going to spitball with everybody else, but I'm going to spitball honestly. We don't know. So we'll just have to wait and see. When the executive order comes out, I'll take a look. I'll post a new video. So stay tuned and lawyer up. That's the best advice I can give you. If you like the podcast, if you like the stream, please support us at jacobtingen.com. Go click on podcasts, donate. You can also make sure to follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. We're everywhere. So thanks, everybody, for listening. And thanks, Nation of Immigrants. Take it easy. And stay safe. As they say in Spanish, quédate en casa, right? Stay away from anything that could get you sick. All right.
Thank you for listening to Nation of Immigrants.
America is a nation of immigrants.
Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes. Watch the live stream on YouTube and Facebook, or visit jacobtingen.com to learn more.